Welcome to the regular season. I'm Delstar15, as always, joined by Big Ants Gaming, aka Ant, and Nathanius, aka Nate. Welcome, gents. As we heard, Anthony just lost by 43 points. So, gents, how was your weekend in football?
I lost by 43. I swear on everything. When I turned the app off, I was up. There's I don't know what happened. I don't talk about my team.
Look, I had these studs in my fantasy matchup this season. What can I say?
Before we get to that section of fantasy football, there's an actual bullet point that says Nate's loss of the week.
That's right.
So I guess we'll kick it off. Week 8 of the NFL has come and gone. A lot of news to talk about. It was the trade deadline. There are some major injuries that we'll get into. As always, we're going to kick it off with fantasy football. And as we have done for the past 7 shows, we should mention that I am still undefeated in the Rare Drop Sports Fantasy Football League, having decimated the opponents again, beating I Love Mondays 112-91. It would have been more, but James Robinson got hurt. But I didn't have a player below 14 points this week, except for James Robinson. The NFC South really did me very well with Chris Godwin, Cordell Patterson, Alvin Kamara showing up. I could have even started James Conner, but I didn't. Was sitting on my bench. I would have gotten another 10 points since I started James Conner over Robinson. But here we are.
Must be nice.
I am riding the hype train of Josh Allen the whole way to the playoffs. And if anyone from Rare Drop Sports League is listening right now, Baker Mayfield's on the trading block if you want him. If not, I'm dropping him. I'm riding one quarterback the whole way. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. Well, on that news, on that news, let's talk about a couple surprises in fantasy this week. We're going to start right off with 2 Jets players, because frankly, I don't think anyone knew the Jets had an offense. But Michael Carter, let's hop right into that one, showing up and literally putting the Jets on his back. But listen, Mike White did great. But I'd say this was Carter's game with 77 yards and a touchdown on the ground and another 95 yards in the air. Do either of you think that this is a sign of things to come for Carter? Because in recent weeks, this has been a trend for him. He is the playmaker of the team now.
Yeah, 100%. No, Carter, I thought he's looked pretty solid the whole season through. There's been some tremendous issues execution-wise with the team, but I think that especially without the gunslinger at quarterback, Mike, not without getting the 400 yards, not a single pass for over 25. All right, somebody that knows how to look for those checkdowns and hit them and get the ball out of his hands. Michael Carter took beautiful advantage of the opportunity to just say, hey, look, if they're going to give me the flat, I'm going to take it every single time. And no, he looked absolutely incredible. I've been pretty high up on him in that running back room this year, but he's emerged as a clear number 1, I think, on the team.
Yep. I got him in my other league that I finally came back from that losing streak, and I'm back on in first place. And he's sitting on my bench, but I think he's going in for me next week. I mean, he has to. I mean, I've been riding T. Higgins long enough. T. Higgins just ain't doing it. What do you think? Anthony, what do you think? I mean, not that you should be giving fantasy advice to anyone, but what do you think?
So it's funny. You said that James Conner had 10 points on your bench.
We had 14 points on my bench.
Yeah, he probably had more than 7 of my players that started. So I don't know what to say. There's no, I don't expect anybody to get advice from me. And I thought I had a good lineup. Let me just tell you my lineup before y'all make fun of me. Yes, I lost by 43. Yes, I did. It was, I lost by 43.6, just to make it clear. Kyler Murray, he only gave me 11 points. Brandon Cooks gave me 14. That was cool. Justin Jefferson gave me 2 points. See, Joe Mixon, 21 points. That was great. Hubbard, been riding him, 13 points. It went downhill. I think I can't even find what I did wrong. Like my kicker gave me 16 points, but what he had was Godwin, Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Cordell Patterson, some guy named Taylor from Indianapolis that did pretty good, and Robert Wood.
Oh yeah, he had the best receiver, all three of the best receivers this week on his team. But continue, let's just continue with these string of surprises, keeping with the Jets. Mike White coming out of nowhere, 405 yards, 3 TDs, but 2 picks. So, I mean, the only question that needs to be had here is, would you start him on Thursday against a depleted Colts defense if you're in a 12-man league at this point? Are you going to start him, Anthony?
I have no, like, it's an effort mentality now, okay?
So you're going to start him?
I'm looking for him right now. I'm gonna let Nate go. I'm gonna look for him as we speak.
What do you think?
You're looking for those 36, those times 36 returns on the roulette with this guy. If
I mean, I can start him over Kyler Murray.
Please do it, just to see what happens. Chat, what do you think? We'll let chat.
If he hits another 30 checkdowns to Michael Carter, he could end up with some pretty beefy stats again. I have a feeling that's. They've very carefully looked at this game plan. They're like, look, he knows how to hit the first guy that's open, even if it's for 3 yards of play. We've never seen it before.
Oh, my quarterback is on a bye. I have to play him. Brady's on a bye. Oh my God.
Perfect.
I'm going to find him right now.
Speaking of quarterbacks, though, I would say if you're in a deep league and you have a bye week for your starting quarterback let's just say outside of the top 12 quarterbacks in the league, quarterbacks have not exactly done amazing this season. If you're like really kind of up against the wall and you might be on the fringe of making the playoffs, start them. What's going to happen? You get 10 points instead of getting 40. And roll the dice, see what happens. Now, quarterback, I wouldn't take a massive risk on is going to be our last surprise of the week, Justin Fields. Not exactly doing great quarterback things, but doing great things as an athlete with 175 in the air and 103 on the ground and 2 TDs. I have him as a QB4 or a QB5, but I don't know, would either of you even touch Justin Fields at this point, or are you just leaving him by the wayside?
I'm going with Mike. Money Mike for me. Money Mike take me. Money Mike take me to the championship.
Jets legend Mike White, ladies and gentlemen.
Who's that other quarterback on y'all team? Y'all don't need him. You got Money Mike.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, that guy, Zach Wilson. Who needs him? You got Money Mike. He already got a good name. Yeah. Put him on the team.
My goodness. All right, let's just go ahead and hop in the top players. Our top 3 players this week, all receivers. Holy moly, Tyler Lockett put up 12 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown with Geno Smith at quarterback. I mean, at this point, you have to start Tyler Lockett no matter who's at quarterback. I think he's proven himself to be a top 15 receiver in the league, right?
For sure. Yeah. Undoubtedly. Yeah. And I like seeing Geno Smith play. I like the way that team's been organized. He is, he's a yak machine too, so he doesn't need to get it deep, but he can do that too.
Yeah. Following up, Lockett, Cooper Kupp continues his string of domination with 7 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown. I'm not going to lie, as someone who has Cooper Kupp on his team, in one of his teams, he is my MVP. And frankly, I'm putting Cooper Kupp as MVP of the NFL right now. He's easily the MVP of the NFL right now. He's on pace.
Wow. He's not a quarterback, but you're close.
He is on pace for something stupid like 2,000 yards receiving and 155 receptions and something like 40 touchdowns. It is insane what this guy's doing. I made up all those stats, but I saw something like that.
He would never get MVP. I'm not trying to be that for you. He would never.
I'm calling it right now. Cooper Kupp for MVP. But then continuing the string of receivers, Deebo Samuel coming out with six catches for 171 yards, kind of like the lone light on this team. But with that, fantasy football was kind of up and down for a lot of people this week. Like my team continue to score. It's about 110 to 115 points that I'm averaging right now. But everyone else in our league was just down. And we're going to get into why a bunch of people were down this week. But first, before we move on, Nate, how'd fantasy go for you this week?
You know, I thought I was finally in a good place matchup wise. You know, I'm like, okay, I can plug the quarterback gap with anybody. I didn't have Lamar Jackson, but I still felt confident. Unfortunately, the game for me ended up being decided on the back of not having the correct running back from the Indianapolis Tennessee game. Unfortunately, Mr. Henry, well, he's no longer going to have my team on his back, or my dreams of my team on his back, and what was his name? They had like 24 points on the other side.
Jonathan Taylor?
Cried. Yeah, I cried myself to sleep on that one. And that's how I lost this week. Shout out to DeAndre Hopkins for not completely turning everything into a million points for them either.
All right. So it just a string of relying on Derrick Henry kind of coming to bite you in the butt.
What can I say?
What can you say? All right. So hopping into last week, let's just hop right into the New Orleans Tampa Bay game. We talked about this as one of the games of the week last week. This was Jameis's revenge, and while he didn't play the entire game, let's talk about the fact that Tampa can't beat the Saints in the regular season. They have Tom Brady's Achilles heel is the New Orleans Saints, and it doesn't make any sense.
It's actually Jameis Winston is his Achilles heel.
Yeah, that's it.
They got through 10 passes.
Yes.
Don't act like he actually won this game. I swear.
Yeah, but when he got hurt, when somebody lifts the team up this much, when you have the presence, dare I say, the composure, the energy that just emanates from Jameis Winston, seeing that man get hurt, it's like that scene in the movie where everybody's tired, everybody's exhausted, but they lift their arms up one last time for the final fight, and that's the inspirational power of Jameis Winston. They didn't want to let him down. They refused to let him down.
Y'all are ridiculous.
He is a different type of person. He is a locker room leader. This man gave everything he had on the field.
He was
on pace.
He was
on pace. He got carried off the field because he hurt his knee. That's why. This man was going to put up dominating points.
What are you talking about? He was averaging less than 10 yards a pass.
He had a touchdown already. He was proficient from the field.
6 of 10 at 60% completion percentage for less than 60 yards.
He got a dirty hit. What can you say?
Oh my God.
It was a dirty hit. It was a horse count. That person should have got fined. Jameis was on the path to MVP. Another win. This win against Tampa Bay would have gave him the check mark to go get that MVP. You know this now. You know this. Stop hating on the man.
I don't know why this turns into a Jameis Winston promo for a wrestling promotion, but here we are.
Welcome to the Jameis Winston show.
He'll get comeback player of the year.
Nah,
Jameis get well.
Let's really talk about it. Tom Brady throwing 2 picks, one of them to PJ Williams, who then returns that for a touchdown. And it just looked like everything was clicking for the Saints, except for the passing game. And I'm gonna be honest, 209 yards in the passing game with a depleted Tampa Bay secondary. I don't think that makes. I don't think New Orleans is a contender. Again, we mentioned this last week, right? On my notes for last week's episode, it said stats don't matter in the NFC South. It does not matter who's showing up to play. You're going to have a game no matter what. And New Orleans proved that. And listen, Tampa Bay's got to figure out how to beat New Orleans, but I don't think New Orleans is going much of anywhere without Jameis. I also think they should probably sign Cam Newton, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I think that's a good fit. But yeah, it's gonna be tough to go without Jameis because Jameis was the backbone of the team. He made it happen for Kamara. I think that that is gonna hurt them. He is the heart and soul of the team.
Whenever you're editing this, can you just throw in the Scar clip from Lion King that says I'm surrounded by idiots?
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Thank you.
Famous MVP. Hashtag 2021.
He's the winner. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so on that note, Tom Brady and them are going to figure it out. I think they got a couple people coming back from IR this week. They look to kind of right the ship, if you will. But Tom's got to stop throwing picks. I never thought I'd say that. Tom's got to stop throwing costly picks. Because it was more than New Orleans won this game. I think Tom Brady threw this game away. Going back and watching it, like he threw interceptions at the most costly time possible. But hey, shout out to Tom Brady for throwing the ball to Chris Godwin for 140 yards and touchdown. My fantasy team appreciates you. On that note, moving down the line, Nate, I hear the Jets beat the Bengals.
Ooh, Money Mike.
Behind Money Mike and Michael Carter. So you got Mike Squared. That's what we're gonna call him now. Mike Squared taking out Joey B. And honestly, the Jets defense is making Jamar Chase look human. How did this happen?
There are so many weird things that play into this. So first of all, my number one criticism of Zach Wilson this whole season has been all his great plays they look great when it happens, right? But it's like breakdowns. He's throwing deep. He's on the run. Things aren't going according to plan. But with Zach Wilson out this game, this is actually the first time this season our offensive coordinator was up in the box instead of on the field for calling the plays. And that I take that with Mike White just kind of he actually requested that. And he's like, it's fine. I got this. His ability to just get rid of the ball, which Zach has struggled with. He's had a lot of missed passes where he's just straight up missed guys like Michael Carter and Ty Johnson really short. All Mike White did was just nail those 5-yard hits. And I think the defense really got to show its stuff, especially with Mosley back this week, largely due to them finally not having to spend the entire game on the field. That defense always, I felt like, was just getting run ragged. But this week was just kind of crazy to see. Backup quarterbacks aren't really supposed to play that well. One of the picks was pretty terrible. The other was one of those Mahomes bobbles, whatever. You blame whoever you want. But it's in Jetstown, it's all everybody's just still, we're all still celebrating because we can't believe that it happened. But the team has a lot of good players that play hard, but it's there's been a lot of growing pains still between the coaching staff and the quarterback situation. Somehow a backup with the OC stepping back a little bit gave them that flow that they needed to get it done.
Now, not trying to take away from what the Jets did, but is this this game in itself cause enough to kind of be like, so maybe the Bengals were just pretenders. Maybe they've won a lot of close games against some all right teams. Granted, they handily beat the Ravens, but again, that's another divisional matchup that it's kind of up in the air no matter what, right? You could be the worst team in the league, and that game's going to be competitive. Did this expose the Bengals as a pretender when it comes to playoff contention?
I wouldn't say that, because at the end of the day, you just got to win your division, and their division is not strong right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to talk later about a team that might creep in that division. But at the end of the day, you just have to beat your division, and you will have a home playoff game in the first round.
But let's talk about something that happened here. Is Jamar Chase had a few drops in this game. Targeted 9 times, only caught the ball 3 times. Now, a couple of those were Joey B's fault, but he did have a couple drops. You think other teams were paying attention to how the Jets were covering Jamar Chase? Because they covered him good. That looked solid. And as Nate has mentioned, the Jets secondary isn't exactly the best in the world right now. And they managed to make Jamar Chase almost a non-factor.
I still attribute that to just having a better ball control on the offense makes things so much easier for those guys, because I know that there's not a lot of big superstar names. You've got Brandon Echols, rookie. You got Michael Carter, too, rookie. And in those long games where they're on the field the whole time, the other team is going to generate those offensive plays if they have the ball the whole game. It's just going to happen. But I think that pass coverage-wise, especially in the red zone, that's kind of been the only place we've been strong. Our run game completely blew up the last few weeks while Mosley was out. But I have there was a weird amount of confidence. Most people were like, why didn't you bring in a veteran corner or something like that? But these young guys on the outside have been, I'll be honest with you, I was shocked. I thought Jamar Chase was going to light it up for probably 3 or 4 touchdowns just on him alone.
Yeah. Cool. Let's keep it in the New Jersey area. Let's talk about the Giants. The actual bullet point says, why are the Giants so bad? It's not Daniel Jones' fault either. The Giants had every opportunity to take down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And holy crap. Daniel Jones did everything he could. What is wrong with this team? They have talent.
They're just not a good team. They're just not coached well. We're not surprised, but nobody should be surprised by how their record's going.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. We didn't know who that coach was. They just need to blow it up, restart again. This coach is not working. Daniel Jones is a baller.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on him. They need to get some more pieces around him, and it's tough to watch. Tough to watch the Giants.
It is. I don't get it because Daniel Jones. I think the more and more I watch Daniel Jones this season, I'm convinced that he would be a top 8 quarterback literally anywhere else. With any semi-decent coach, Daniel Jones would be a quarterback that everybody envies. If he had a semi-decent coach. But I think it is solely on Joe Judge's shoulders, and the ownership team really needs to look into the coaching situation, because I think this is a poorly coached team.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think it's a poorly coached team. They need to just go back to the drawing book. Mm-hmm. But Daniel Jones, like I said, it's not his fault.
No.
He will ball out on another team. But, man, it's like I said before, it's tough. Tough to watch them.
But, Nate, let's talk about the other side of the ball. They're playing Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has a 19.3 QBR after this game's over. What is going on in Kansas City?
Well, dude, it's so it feels so bad because I actually watched the whole game too, and I put $5 on him for the line for interceptions was 0.5. I'm like, this is going to happen. There's nothing Mahomes is going to do to stop an interception from happening in this game. And like clockwork, again, so many drop balls and tipped passes going into the hands of defenders. Not even throws that I can all say are necessarily terrible, but it's like Madden syndrome. And then once you get into that, you feel like you can't do it normally with your game plan, and you just start trying to force it and make these crazy plays. Like, this is the kind of game that at the start of the season, if you're like, Nate, what's the score? Giants, Chiefs, I'd say probably like 40-10, maybe even a shutout. Who knows? I don't have a whole lot of respect, especially for the organization with the Giants. They haven't really done too much. Daniel Jones has impressed me, but Mahomes kind of gets away with it. But it's like, that's not the team that you should be having close games with. Nah, I don't think so.
Not at all. I agree. I mean, it is kind of ironic that Mahomes' interception came off of a ball going straight through Josh Gordon's hands, of all people. And guess what? That was Josh Gordon's only target of the night. I think after that, they're like, nope, you're out. You're out. Go smoke some weed somewhere and get out of here. That being said, we're going to skip this next bullet point and then kind of bring that up in the top storylines. But let's move on to the Chargers game. The Chargers getting beat again by a rookie-led New England. Justin Herbert, is he losing steam? 223 yards, only 18 of 35, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and only ran the ball twice. Is this the sophomore slump we were expecting from Justin Herbert now? We're finally seeing it. The Chargers now 4-3. What do you think, Anthony?
I'm disappointed. This is a slump. It's not like Matt Jones did a lot. He only threw for 218 yards.
He just didn't mess up.
No touchdown.
He
didn't mess up, but he didn't do the box score to make them like beat the Chargers. That was just on Herbert and the Chargers not playing well, and they kind of ran the ball okay, but this is something that we're going to see what type of quarterback Justin Herbert is. Is he going to bounce back, or is he going to keep falling to these teams that they should beat? They should be 6-2 right now. They should be up in the upper echelons, and then they're letting certain games go. This division is still wide open because right now, I don't know about Kansas City. We're going to talk about the Raiders later, The Broncos are the Broncos. I don't know who wants to win this division. This is weird.
Oh. It's Nate, what do you think? Yeah, this is a weird division. If you're the Chargers, are you worried about Justin Herbert, or you're just like, no, this is just a slump? You know, we're missing a few pieces. Where do you just kind of keep pushing forward as is?
Yeah, I think you have to. And for me, it's, there's always going to be the Belichick effect. It's always going to be a little bit weird when you're playing against the Patriots, because it's not like that team is super flashy. It's not like they got superstars all over the field. They follow their game plan and they just execute. And, Mac Jones basically just handles it, right? Just don't throw it away. And you put this weird pressure on the other team where you're like, no, you have to play this fast-paced, high-tempo ball that NFL is these days. And that's how you kind of fall into that trap a little bit. I don't take it as a big thing against him. When the coaching is able to make the right adjustments and give people the information they need, they can make more plays even on guys like Justin Herbert.
Yeah. Speaking of Bill Belichick, we haven't talked about this season, but I did want to bring this up. Bill Belichick's coaching tree is kind of trash. Everyone that's come out from underneath Bill Belichick has been terrible. Bill Belichick now is very close to being 70 years old. At what point do you think the Patriots are like, oh crap, someone's in waiting for Bill Belichick's job like Josh McDaniels, and we're screwed when he retires?
I mean, when he retires, I think it'll be a fresher breath of air. Like, Josh McDaniels it's a good coach. He's staying there for a reason. So I feel like Belichick doesn't have that many more years left, because McDaniels turned down the job at a few locations. He could have went to the Jets. He could have went to San Francisco, but he turned it down. So something's going on there. But the coaching tree, I got to look back at the coaching tree. I don't think it's that bad. Now I got to go look at it. But, I mean, Belichick has a way to do things, and when he leaves, maybe it'll change.
All right, let's talk about Bill Belichick's coaching tree real quick. We're taking this tangent. Okay. And I'm only talking about NFL experience because there's a name on here that doesn't count. But Al Groh was coach of the New York Jets in 2000. Trash. Romeo Crennel, head coach of the Browns and then the Kansas City Chiefs, fired because he was trash. Then there's this guy who coached the Dolphins from 05 to 06 and quit because he did so bad. But now he's like the greatest coach in college football history, Nick Saban. But we'll move on to the next one. Then you got Eric Mangini, who was the coach of the Jets and the Browns, historically bad. Then Josh McDaniels, who was historically bad in his tenure in Denver. Then Jim Schwartz, don't remember him. He's the one that had the 0-16 season in Detroit. Then Bill O'Brien with the Texans. That's a whole nother can of worms I don't even want to open yet. That team is literally set back 5 years because of Bill O'Brien. Matt Patricia at the Detroit Lions. And then, one guy we're talking about needs to be fired already, Joe Judge at the Giants, special team coordinator. And then someone I don't know if Anthony's the biggest fan of yet, Brian Flores.
I'm a big fan of his. Big fan. I love his character. He's just in a bad situation right now. I like him as a coach.
Okay.
That's not a bad tree if you look at it. It's not a bad tree.
That's a pretty bad tree.
See, you're looking at it as in the win-loss record. I'm saying it is if you were a GM for a company and all these people that you developed went out and became GMs at other locations, that has your name on it. But then good.
But then every single one of those other locations that hired those people that worked underneath you all went under because they went bankrupt.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault.
I'm just saying.
He did his job by coaching them and getting them ready. Now, the fact is, they all got head coaching jobs. No. Nick Saban, the GOAT. GOAT.
Let's be honest. Okay. We have two different thoughts on this. Belichick's former players have gone on to be better coaches than his former assistants have, and that's Mike Vrabel and Cliff Kingsbury. So, in terms of turning players into coaches, yes, he's good, but his assistants not so good when they go on themselves. But we'll move on.
Nick Saban.
I said ignore that one.
He's the GOAT.
How did he do in the NFL?
How he do in college football?
I'm asking, but this is an NFL podcast, sir.
Okay, all right. You know, we look at NCAA players go to
I just
NFL.
want to know. Hey, no, this is an NFL podcast. How did Nick Saban do at the Dolphins? You a Dolphins fan?
He didn't coach the Dolphins.
Yeah, he did.
So what's next on our thing?
Yeah, so the Steelers, talking about divisions that are up in the air. Are the Steelers somehow going to sneak into the playoffs? Big Ben, okay, listen, I called the guy baked potato all season. But, but Nate, all right, let's talk about this. The Steelers have been quietly putting together a decent season. I mean, I didn't expect this, but the Steelers are now 4-3. Big Ben isn't dead. And their kicker's got a concussion. Are the Steelers going to make it into the playoffs?
At this point,
In that division, maybe.
As long as everybody on the Browns, and those teams keep playing a little bit hurt and making it take a bit longer for them to get better and aggravating those kinds of things, I definitely think it opens things up. Like it's one of those situations where going into this game, I felt like it was going to be messy because of all the injuries, because of people just making themselves basically play anyway. And if this was like the Browns team, 100% healthy, full roster, I'm like, no, I think the Steelers should get smashed. But this is where the coaching comes into play again, just grinding it out. Ugly game. I did not really enjoy the bits of this that I saw, but that's, they're a hard team over there. And Mike Tomlin, and this is exactly when you get into these situations where you can't just rely on the talent of the team. That's where the coaching steps up, and I think that's the impact they're having. Definitely on the table for wild card at this point because everybody's getting hurt now.
Yep, I agree. And Anthony, we'll get yours in a second, but I mean, let's talk about this, Anthony. The Steelers look like they are firmly okay with relying on Harris and then Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Those three, and then Freiermuth, their tight end coming out of nowhere. Do you think the Steelers, if they're riding those three players, Najee Harris, Johnson, and Claypool, that they can carry Big Ben to the playoffs?
It won't be carrying Big Ben. Big Ben knows what to do in these situations. He is a savvy veteran. He will get them to the playoffs. I think Najee Harris is a star in the making. If not, he's a star already. I like Claypool. I like that 6'6" frame. I think they have enough weapons. It's their defense. It's their defense that is stepping up now. And we talked about it and we made fun of the Belichick coaching tree. But they have a coach that is literally a type of coach that people will go through the wall for. And I think with that, and they've been in this situation before, they have enough weapons. They can rely on this. Mr. Potato is going to be great.
Mr. Potato Head, a.k.a. Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, but on the opposite side of the ball, Cleveland just looking like absolute garbage of a football team. I mean, we don't have to dive into this because I think all three of us can agree, and correct me if I'm wrong, either of you. Is the destruction of the Cleveland Browns solely because that team is hurt?
Oh, they have some issues. They have chemistry issues because everybody's hurt. You look around the league, everybody's hurt, but it's how you still have your quarterback he's playing. You have your main weapon threats. You still have your running backs. They are a locker room that's literally about to blow up. It's sad because on paper they look like the best team in football.
I agree. I hate to see it. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, and I think that guy's got more passion in his right toe, like right big toe, than half the league has, and you want to see him succeed, but it just feels like classic Cleveland letting another era of talent slip away. That's what it feels like to me. And I don't think it's on anyone. I think you're right. There's some ego issues maybe, and Stefanski's a great coach, so we'll just see what happens. They're still 500, and they're still in the hunt for their division. They're not like, you can't count them out yet, especially not in this division. So we'll see what happens with Cleveland. But then I don't know what this means, Anthony. We got a bullet point that says, is there a clear-cut best team? Is that just all around the NFL? Do we think there's a clear-cut best team in the NFL after watching Week 8?
I think there's 3 teams that we can say that might have separated themselves mostly in their division, but probably in the league. So I'm talking about the Packers in their division. I still believe in the Buccaneers, even though they lost. And unfortunately, I hate to say this. Well, no, there's two more teams. The Rams.
Yep.
And they went out and they added to their 7-1 team. Good God, they did.
We're going to get into that.
And then, unfortunately, the Cowboys have already won their division.
Yep.
They forgot to put the clinch the division up there. They already won it.
Yep.
So I think it's like you got that, and then you have a bunch of middle teams that somebody has to win. So it's going to take a team going on a streak to end the season to get to the playoffs.
Let's talk about this. We're going to start skipping around stuff because we said we were going to go deeper into some of these things. The Rams trading 2 second-day picks to get Von Miller on a defense that already's got Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. Opposite an offense that has someone no one's talking about for MVP contention in Matt Stafford. And then a receiver that could legitimately be an MVP contender in Cooper Kupp. Regardless, like he is a contender for MVP with the numbers that he's putting up. How much better does Von Miller make this team, who's already probably the best team in the NFL?
It's just one of those pickups that you're like, well, is he, can a guy like Von Miller completely take over for the Broncos at this point in his career? Maybe not. Maybe he's not that guy for them anymore. Like, it's not going to be a saving grace, but on a team where the pressure isn't going to be on him, he gets to come in and do his thing. I'm sure they're just strategizing for making this trade. They were like, okay, well, you're not going to have the pressure of having to run the defense. We already have that. We've got tons of playmakers. Here's a specific job that we want to have you for. Maybe for a couple particular opponents they're thinking down the line. But this is just one of those moves that seems like a win across the board. He's going to get another shot at a championship because this team is definitely going deep this year. I'd be shocked otherwise. But you just got to be happy. And it's not like it cost them that much either.
Second and third round pick. They're in a win first attitude. This is a win right now. They have 3 picks left for next year's draft, by the way. And it's like the 3rd, the 4th, and the 7th round, I think.
It's smart. You're 7-1. You see the window closing because some of your big defensive players are getting a little bit older. You add somebody else that's going to dominate that side because you look at Tampa, they still have a loaded roster. So the only way to get back at them is have a loaded roster. I have to rearrange my MVP because of Jameis, because Jameis was a clear-cut number 1. So now I got to make some changes, and I'll talk about that later. But I think Stafford needs to be put in the MVP conversation for sure.
I agree. I do think, because now let's talk about it. They have, depending on where they play Von Miller, because they can play Von Miller standing up, they can play on the edge. Von Miller next to Aaron Donald on the edge is a terrifying thought for any quarterback. But if they play him standing up, you now have all 3 facets of your defense covered by actual stars for their position. But even if you don't, you play him down as an edge, which Von Miller's an edge, let's be honest, so he's going to be playing down anyways. But they could be interesting packages whenever it comes to Von Miller. How Denver has been playing Von Miller the entirety of his career, right? Like, you're going to get creative with a guy like him because he's too athletic to not do so. They're instantly the favorites to win the Super Bowl with this. I don't see how any offensive line is going to be able to handle Von Miller and Aaron Donald on the same
Tampa
line.
Bay's offensive line. Tampa Bay offensive line is top 3. Like, I understand we're hype about the trade and we're hype with what's going on. And St. Louis,
are you talking about Tampa Bay's offensive line that allowed the New Orleans depleted defensive line 3 sacks on Tom Brady for 25 yards?
It wasn't depleted. They had Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan is one of the top tier defensive linemen in the league.
He's over the
We're
hill.
talking about. Okay, hold on. Who did the Rams lose to? If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't somebody pretty. Let me just double check real quick. They lost to the Cardinals. Okay, the Cardinals. That's probably not the best thing to do, but you know what?
Yeah, and hold on. This is a Cardinals team that was at, they were at full strength, and they were playing in Phoenix.
Okay. All right. The Cardinal team, the same one that just lost to the Packers. I want you to name a receiver that started for the Packers that day.
Randall Cobb.
You can't. Like, that man's over the hill. So, like, you're talking about a Rams team. Yes, they won. They beat the Texans. I mean, the Titans. They beat the Texans. They play the Titans coming up. We'll talk about them in a minute. They beat the Texans. We can't get too hype about them because Tampa Bay still has that man Brady, and he's a bad man.
He's a bad man.
Very true.
That's true. This is very true. Another top storyline coming into this weekend. We're talking about the Titans. And this goes into we're covering 3 bullet points at once right now. Derrick Henry gets hurt, and then the Titans go out and sign all day Adrian Peterson. And okay, so let's
all day at the buffet, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, do you remember the Titans? Okay, so with the running backs that are out there, is this like obviously AP cannot replace Derrick Henry. There ain't no way. But now the Titans are relying on AP and Logan Woodside. How and he's a quarterback, by the way. He had more runs than he had whatever. What do the Titans do here? Like, because Tannehill can't carry this team. Derrick Henry was. Are they instantly out of playoff contention? Well, they're not instantly out of playoff contention because of their division, but they're the only team in their division with a winning record.
What
do you think, Nate?
I don't have a whole lot of hope for them. Look, I mean, Tannehill's a great guy, but you know, he's basically he's back in like the same similar situation happened to Sam, right? He's like, oh, you got a great running back, supposed to take a lot of the pressure off you, open up the playbook, but if Adrian Peterson is, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's again, you know, if this was like 2000, if we had Adrian Peterson from like 10 years ago, maybe, but no, not that guy. So.
What if we get Adrian Peterson from 2 years ago? Let's just say it. Whenever he's with Washington and was still playing good.
I think he's going to his first game get 100 yards rushing.
Probably, but they probably still lose anyway.
Okay. There is a drop off between Derrick Henry and AP.
Oh yeah,
but
there's a drop off. There's a goddamn cliff.
It's a little bit, but that says a lot that they signed him, and there was other noticeable running backs out there, but they signed him. That means that AP still got something in the tank.
Yeah,
but the thing that like I'm thinking about with the Titans, you remember the Broncos when they had Terrell Davis? It wasn't Terrell Davis that was a trendsetter for the running backs because the next running back behind him got 1,000 yards. I think is the system. I think the Titans have a running system that you can plug in a running back and they can get you $125 and 2 touchdowns every game. I think it might be that.
It's like whenever the Panthers had D. Will and Jonathan Stewart. Like the reason, besides the fact that they were both above average running backs, they both had 1,100 yards in a season at the same time, is because of that offensive line and the schemes that they were running, right? Like, you have dink and dunk passes with Jake Delhomme throwing the ball and Steve Smith on the outside taking a lot of pressure off of both running backs. You're going to do good. And let's not forget that just 3 years ago, AP still had 1,000 yards with 4.2 yards a carry. Literally 2 years ago, he was averaging 4.3 yards a carry. Then he goes to Detroit and in 10 games puts up 600 yards. Like, it's not, I don't think he's completely out of the question for AP to come in and just do AP things.
Yeah, but even if he had that in him for a game or two, I'm okay with being wrong on this because it'll definitely make the rest of the season way more interesting if he just starts playing like he's 25. But yeah, it's a terrible situation to be in. What can you say?
I agree. Real quick, we talked about Derrick Henry getting hurt. The Bucks, we talked about their secondary being hurt. They have Murphy Bunting coming back to practice, so they're taking him off of IR, which means he has 21 days to practice and then come back. So be back within the next 3 weeks. And then Scotty Miller, another wide receiver for Tom Brady, coming back from it. And then kind of the big one, here we go. Jameis Winston out for the season with a torn ACL. As much as we like, talking shit here on the podcast, you never want to see a quarterback get an ACL. You don't want to see anyone get an ACL injury because that is career threatening. And Jameis, I am holding myself back from saying he was on a pure resurgence because I do think it was a lot of the system that he's playing in helped him succeed. Let's
Debatable.
Sean Payton's one of the greatest coaches in the NFL, but okay. And it sucks. But now let's talk about the future of the Saints, because right now they got Taysom Hill, who, don't forget, in relief for Drew Brees, went 3-1 in 4 games or 4-1 in 5 games. Last season had 6 interceptions to 2 touchdowns, or 2 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So I got that flipped. And didn't look too terrible in Sean Payton's system. Actually looked pretty dang good. There's a reason Sean Payton's kept him around, because he works in Sean Payton's system. They also got Trevor Siemian, and then they have a rookie quarterback that they're holding on to. So they got 3 quarterbacks. I mean, level of confidence for the Saints with Taysom Hill going in. Like, if they tap Taysom Hill, I mean, I feel like guy's been in the system long enough. He can't be that bad. If they run the same exact game plan as they've done with Jameis, I think Taysom Hill succeeds.
I mean, I think it's about the quarterback. Jameis does play different than Simeon. So you're asking for a lot out of Simeon to try to play like Winston.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the MVP type of field. But I think you have to go look for another quarterback. There are ones that you can try out, but we keep on saying Cam Newton. I really, in my heart, feel like if Cam went to that team and the coach and that atmosphere, they wouldn't skip a beat from Jameis. I think Cam would be a beautiful fit, and it'll be fun to watch him down there.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Nate? Like, is there any hope?
I'm not sold, and I think that, if Cam's master plan is to sit back and wait for a team to need a quarterback that badly, I don't know. There's something about the thought process with that and the way that everything's played out. I've got very low expectations for him if he comes back. I'd love to be wrong, but I think I don't know if it's going to be the move for whoever makes that call.
Yeah. We'll see. We got it here as well. Then there's an old reliables talking about coming back if Nolan wants him. Well, Phillip Rivers said that he would come and play for New Orleans if they wanted him. But so far no one's reached out to him. But he also said that he listened to other teams that are quarterback needy. Looks like taking care of 47 children is getting a little too expensive for Phillip Rivers. So,
God, that man.
I mean, listen, he should have got the snip years ago.
A decade ago. Man, God. What is it? He has 9 kids, right?
Yeah, he got 9 kids.
Whew. Oh, you should never retire.
Phillip Rivers, I think, would be a viable solution. He balled out last year in Indianapolis. It's not like he had a bad season in Indy. Phillip Rivers is still a good quarterback. So, I don't know. Do you if you're the Saints, do you take a chance with Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian, or do you bring in Phillip Rivers, or do you bring in Cam? It's so hard. Nate, what do you think? Like, it's.
I don't necessarily hate the Rivers option. I think he's gonna if he comes in, he's gonna do it like a little bit cocky. He's gonna want to be flair. I don't think that there's as much of a personal investment in it for him, and that might end up actually being a good thing because I don't think that the rest of the pieces are necessarily bad on New Orleans. But yeah, I don't know. I just keep thinking in my head, how do we get Jameis back? And I know that that's not the case. So I don't know that there's a good option. Weirdly enough, I don't know. I actually kind of like Simeon. I'm just gonna say it.
You do?
Yeah. I don't know why, but I wouldn't mind if they just used him. And if they're gonna flex, if they want to flex Hill in, then sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they can't just run the 2 of them and just try to game plan around it.
Yeah. It's fair. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Coming on down the line, good old Sam Darnold show out with a concussion. Looked like Carolina kind of figured it out finally there with the way they were running the ball and even letting Sam flex his legs. But now it looks to be the PJ Walker show. Really excited for the XFL standout to be the starting quarterback for an NFL franchise. Stoked. Stoked.
You never
So
know.
excited. You never know, Mike. Money Mike.
PJ Walker was like 3 for 14 the other day.
You never know.
But his name isn't Christian Hackenberg. Discuss.
Discuss. Did Christian Hackenberg ever see a down in the NFL?
No.
No.
Not in the
No.
NFL.
Okay.
No. He did get to play in the XFL or AAF. And then I think he broke the interception record in one half and immediately went back to coaching high school or something. I like to Google his name every now and again when I think about how sad of a life I have as a Jets fan. And I'm like, this guy got paid millions of dollars to make us think that something could happen. And he was so bad, they didn't even let him touch the ball once. Not one, a second round draft pick.
He said,
Didn't get to touch the ball once. in
At
his
least
professional
you
NFL
weren't
career.
as upset as those of us that were Panthers fans about a decade ago whenever we drafted Jimmy Clausen, who we thought was the second coming out of Notre Dame. And this guy proceeds to make us start Vinny Testaverde and Brian St. Pierre in the same season. So
No Vinny slander. No
Vinny
Vinny
was
slander.
48 years old at that point.
Yeah, I know. Okay. You shouldn't have been playing.
But anywho, and then rounding out the list of injuries, Chris Boswell, the kicker of the Steelers, out with a concussion after what might have been the worst fake field goal of all time, followed up by probably one of the greatest form tackles of all time. Who do you blame for this play, Anthony?
when you see a kicker has a concussion, like you wonder, was he in the best situation? So I am going to go straight to the whoever made that call for the fake, because he probably said no in the headset, and they tell him to run it. Now you have a kicker that's concussed. I really don't hear that from an injury for a kicker. So
No.
I mean, damn.
No.
Part of the point of these positions is supposed to be it's low risk for situations like that, you know? Like, I don't pretend to be happy that the Jets have 2 punters on their roster because, because man got hurt. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure Morstead's a great guy. I'm sure those two getting a beer together would be a good episode of Hot Ones. But why? Why do we have to be in these situations? Obviously, that was off a bad hit, but why would you put yourself in that situation with the kicker?
I don't know. Oh my goodness. Can we talk about how Aaron Rodgers grew out his hair for his costume? Like, we finally knew why he grew out his hair, so he could be John Wick. Did y'all see that?
Oh yeah.
He's wonderful.
Can we get more people like Aaron? I feel like I'm watching like my next door neighbor when I look at Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, that's a guy. I'm gonna walk next door. I'm gonna knock on the door and be like, yo, I'm out of beer. You got a 6-pack and you want to drink some? You want to hang out? And like, that's what Aaron Rodgers reminds me of, because he's at his point in his career. He don't give a shit anymore.
He's giving out Bitcoin to people. You know why I know that? I got one. He said he sent me some. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. I literally just got it during the podcast. Like, yes, he is cool. He is fun, and he is my new MVP. I'm putting my foot down right here. I'm going the rest of the way. Aaron Rodgers is going to win MVP and flick off Roger Goodell. It's going to be beautiful. This man is fun to watch. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He makes his own play calls. Like, he's great.
Speaking of MVP, talking about someone who's not going to win MVP, Odell Beckham Jr. How's that for a segue? Odell, I mean, even his dad kind of called it out online today. Nate, where does Odell go from here? One of the best receivers in the league as of 2 years ago, and now is an afterthought when Baker Mayfield is throwing the ball.
I have felt like Cleveland is just not the place for somebody that goes up to the game and is like, I want to wear my absurdly nice watch while I'm on the field because I'm just that cool. It's like when you're a fan of a team that's just eating crap for so long, you don't want to see. I don't know about you guys how you feel about this when you have bad years, but I want to see the team come together. I want to feel like there's bonds being formed between the players, and they want to be there together with each other, and they want to do it as a team, because that's how you get that actual improvement year over year, right? I don't think like, oh, I just wish we had this one guy that could just do everything for us. I feel like everybody kind of wants that, and when you see that you have guys that are like really fun to watch, but don't necessarily have the same volume on them, like a Landry and Mayfield, and I never felt like he stepped too far with anything. But and people always like to say, it's like, well, what are these situations where OBJ's like crazy? Like what is it? And I don't know. I think it might be a couple of those kinds of things where he's just publicly very about himself, but the synergy does not seem to be there. I haven't felt like it was there since they picked him up, except between his injuries, they've had time to say, oh yeah, no, it'll be fine. It's not a real concern, but. I don't know. I kind of thought the team was a little bit better without him, and I'm not sure where he ends up. But if you're the Browns, you just try to make sure you're getting something for him.
Yep, I agree. I think his salary might be a little too much for a lot of people to want to tackle, but this is it's hard. It's hard because Odell is good, and I don't know what's not clicking there. I don't, because you would think that combination of Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. would be a fantastic one. But it looks like Odell came in a year too late, and that chemistry with Jarvis was too high already.
Well, it was reported today that he has been voicing that he doesn't get along with Baker. And that makes sense.
I'm not sure many people get along with Baker.
Probably not. But like Odell, he's getting a little more vocal about it. He tried to get vocal enough to get traded at the deadline, but Cleveland is asking for a first-round pick. And nobody's going to give you that. Nobody's going to give you a second, maybe a third. If they would have offered like a third, I'm pretty sure Green Bay would have took him. Because to have Odell and Devontae Adams split on both sides, that'd have been filthy.
Wow, you just going to forget about Randall Cobb like that?
100%. So I think that he'll get dealt in the off season, or he might just get released.
Yep. I mean, we already saw someone's favorite target get released in Deshaun Jackson. God, you want to talk about Matt Stafford losing his deep threat? Like Deshaun's averaging like something like 27 yards a catch. It just looked like that was an unhappy marriage in LA, and it sucks because Deshaun was playing well. So, going down the line of things we need to talk about, let's bring it up. Las Vegas Raiders in the news once again for things you shouldn't be in the news for. Henry Ruggs, young receiver for Las Vegas, early this morning gets in an accident in Las Vegas, driving under the influence. So now he has a DUI. The caveat to all this is that unfortunately the driver of the vehicle that he hit was killed in the accident. So now Henry Ruggs is in Las Vegas jail with a DUI resulting in a death as well as reckless driving. And obviously you got to think this kid's career's over, making a stupid mistake like this.
Yeah. They give the players all the tools to get out of these situations if they need them, right? They have access to cars, they have access to drivers, you have security, you have millions of dollars. You could pretty much do whatever you want whenever you want. Don't drive drunk. Like how hard does it have to be? That's on my side of town. The news and people that have been talking locally today, it's been real somber, real sad, and it didn't need to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Okay, let's talk. I don't make as much money as an NFL receiver. Let's just be very honest. I don't. And yet, whenever I go out to drink or to do anything, even if I know I'm only having one or two drinks, I Uber anywhere in the city of Austin. Like, there is no chance I'm getting behind the wheel. Now, is that a product of me being 33 years old and having been in this world a little bit longer? Probably, but still, it's like you should have the wherewithal when you have that much pressure on your shoulders to not be an idiot. But you should also have that wherewithal as a human being. You should never, ever drink and drive and put anyone else on the road at risk.
There's so many people that would, if you just call as a, hey, pick me up, that because you have that status of an NFL star, they would have sent crazy cars for you to like get picked up in. You just make a call. Just go on your phone and do that,
Mm-hmm.
because now you ruin your career, and you ruin the family. You ruin lives because you were irresponsible not to make that call, not to do the right thing. And you've probably been talked about. They probably had sessions when they brought in people talking about, make sure you don't get caught up in the nightlife, make sure you don't do stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sad to hear.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You hate to see it. You really do. And wishing, sending all the prayers and good vibes to the family of the deceased. And it's absolutely insane. And hope whatever comes from this, Henry Ruggs realizes what he did and can learn from it, and those around him that are affected can heal in whatever way that they deem necessary to heal. Moving on down the line, it was trade deadline, but we didn't see someone move. Deshaun Jackson staying in Houston. It seems like both the Panthers and the Dolphins backed off here this week when things for the legal issues surrounding Deshaun Jackson could not be cleared up.
So this is what was the deal breaker. I do have this on my phone. It happened around 1 o'clock. So
Deshaun Watson.
what happened?
Deshaun Jackson. My bad.
Yeah. So what happened was Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, was able to receive permission to speak with Deshaun Watson last night.
Mm-hmm.
What Stephen Ross wanted was if the civil suits was going to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson started the process of not taking it to court, pretty much settling it behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But they did not give the okay to Stephen Ross to go ask about it. He didn't feel comfortable. And at the last minute of the deadline, he pulled out, because then the Texans were still asking for a crazy high amount and saying, if Deshaun got in trouble, it's on y'all, not us. So that would have took on the money, because he's due $35 million as of next year.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the same thing
yeah.
in Carolina, right? Like that's a lot of the same reports coming out of Carolina. It's Tepper and Fitterer wanted to be able to talk to Deshaun, and they were denied access to talk to Deshaun Watson, and they wanted a lot of this legal stuff to be cleared up. I'm not gonna lie, if you're asking me, I wouldn't have pursued him in the first place. You wait until you figure out what's going on with this legal stuff, because it is serious. These are serious accusations, and I think that they're not being taken seriously enough by the league. I think, who was it? Albert Brandt put it kind of seriously. Put it very well. Is that no team should have pursued Deshaun Watson? No team. What does that say to everyone about the initiatives that you've taken with the domestic violence in the NFL ever since the Greg Hardy saga happened? Like I lived through that one as a Panthers fan, watching everything that happened there, and to see the Panthers, the team that dealt with Greg Hardy and then dealt with what happened with Jerry Richardson and that crap, and his, sexual assault or, sexual harassment in the workplace and his racism and stuff like that. Like, what message does that send that you're instantly going to go and pursue a guy who has these accusations against him? Again, innocent until proven guilty, but 22 accusations is not something to scoff at. So with that being said, let's go to some good news. Mac Jones did not lose the game for the New England Patriots, aka this is the rookie recap. We have four rookies to look at this week. Not all great news, but some good news. And we're gonna sandwich it with great news. Mac Jones, we talked about him already. I think Mac Jones, if you ask me, is starting to find his place as I compared him to this person on Sunday, like an Alex Smith, as a game manager that's not giving the game away. Alex Smith in his prime, whenever he got out there, he managed the game through for 250 yards, may not throw a touchdown, but didn't throw an interception, just helped the team move the ball downfield. I think as a rookie, that's a pretty dang good place to be. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, this is what we were talking about. Came into the league in a really good situation. The team is mostly there. It's not full of rock stars, but they're humble. They kind of understand. You're in the Belichick system. You're playing around this. There's going to be ways that you have to do things, and I think that he came in as a player that I think would excel just being told what to do and just trying to do that. Not trying to play hero ball, not trying to always do these big rollout deep throws or anything like that. He's just look, hit your assignment, don't screw it up. Everything's gonna be okay. That's why he gets to enjoy success.
Fair. What do you think, Anthony?
I mean, to be a game manager right now as a rookie, like you said, is good. I do want to see more, but maybe a little bit later on the season, Belichick takes the chains off him and let him air it out a little bit more. But he's not losing games for them, so he's letting the defense do their thing.
Letting Damian Harris do his thing as a running back. Holy crap! Talk about someone who's coming out of nowhere.
Exactly. I think Matt Jones is going to be a good quarterback. It just, it's kind of boring to watch now, but it's gonna help him in the long run.
I mean, let's be honest. Kurt Warner and Troy Aikman were both boring as hell to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just the first season is boring to watch, and maybe next season, maybe if they get in the playoffs, that he just can air it out a little bit more.
Hell, Trent Dilfer was probably the most boring quarterback. He's got a Super Bowl.
Chad Pennington. He was the worst.
I was trying to talk about winning quarterbacks.
Mr. Dink and Dunk, yeah.
Moving down the line, not so great showing from Jamar Chase. We kind of talked about this. 8 targets, but only 3 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown. We hit on it, so let's say this again. Nate, was this a product of the coverage and the way that the Jets played, or is this just kind of Jamar Chase having a down week?
I can't really say anything for the drop balls, but I think there was a little underestimation on the Jets defensive side. D-line really feasted big time, especially, young guys, Huff, Zuniga and Mosley. They put so much pressure on. They made it real tough. But shout out to Brandon Eccles, I think was the one on him. He's a rookie. He's not a first round pick. He's not a second round pick. He's a guy that Robert Saleh just picked and said, okay, look, this is going to be somebody that can play ball and can get it done. And yeah, that's I don't write Chase off for this. They definitely were not expecting the Jets to come at them the way they did.
So Anthony, on the opposite side, if you're the Bengals, are you worried that your next opponents are paying attention to everything, and now they may be able to cover Jamar Chase better than anyone has so far?
Their next opponent is the Browns. He'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Another poor showing from someone we hyped up last week in Kyle Pitts against Carolina, held to 2 catches for 13 yards. Now, let's be honest. And I'm just going to say this. Carolina's stacked at cornerback right now and stacked in the linebacker spot. Their defense is stacked. I mean, you have Stephon Gilmore, you have A.J. Boye, you have Dante Jackson, and you have C.J. Henderson. And then also Shaq Thompson came back and was covering up the middle. So I think if you're a Falcons fan or you're anyone paying attention to Kyle Pitts, if you're a Florida fan, do not be worried. I think this was just a product of Kyle Pitts being literally covered by a mass of humans that weren't going to let the ball get anywhere near him.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's games. I mean, you used to see it whenever Jimmy Graham would go up, and whenever he was with the Saints and they were doing well, would go up against a solid linebacker. Jimmy Graham would be shut down for one game, and then he'd come back, right? So I think this was just a product of Carolina's defense finally found their footing once again, and he'll be fine. But speaking of another up-and-comer, we talked about him already, Michael Carter, New York Jets.
Yeah.
Hot diggity dog. You want to talk about a running back that no one was talking about going into the season is now living up to be one of probably the better rookie players in the past 3 weeks. On a scale of 1 to 10, Nate, how excited are you for Michael Carter moving forward?
I had an 8. Solid 8 for sure.
Yeah.
I'm super hyped. I want to see more. I've been parroting this all year, but Zach doesn't take the easy throws. He tries to play hero ball, chuck it deep. Defenses just cheat on the run because they're not completing any of those passes. And in a game where they can get the short game going, Michael Carter's just. I mean, if you watch some of those plays, he was getting hit 2-3 times. He had one time defensive end came around. He literally spun around, did almost a half pirouette, and then picked up another couple yards after getting hit at handoff too. This kid's gonna be something special. I love watching him play. Made the game exciting. Made the game worth watching.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you for the rookie recap. Let's look back at what we did week 7. We had our 2 games as Green Bay at Arizona and then Tampa Bay at New Orleans. There is a lot of red when it comes to the Tampa Bay and New Orleans games. We're going to get to that in a second. But Green Bay at Arizona, Anthony's the only one that picked Green Bay to win. But he picked the over, and he lost that. So you don't get to celebrate. But then Nate and I both picked Arizona, and I picked the over, and we didn't do too hot. Anywho, Tampa. Oh, go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
No, I just I feel for my boy Murray.
I do. I feel bad for AJ Green, whose controller died in the middle of the last play.
Dude, yeah, don't even. Oh my god,
Dude, he did a great job.
Put your hands up, man. How many zeros are on your checks to put your hands up? It's the last play of the game.
He did great.
They did great. Speaking of teams that didn't do great, Tampa Bay at New Orleans. So Ant picked New Orleans, but he picked the under. So he lost that one. He also lost the score, which he picked 40-7 New Orleans. He also said Jameis was going to throw for 303 touchdowns.
He was going to. He
wasn't. He was on pace to throw 150 yards.
No.
Yes.
He had 100 yards. He had close to 100
Bro,
before he got injured.
He had 56 yards passing.
He was on his way for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was going to be.
Jameis always warms up a little bit in the second half. Look, we all know that.
But
oh my God, yes.
We have room to celebrate because Nate picked the Saints as well as the over, winning both of those. How's it feel, Nate, to be the only one to pick both things right this week?
Feels good. It feels good. I like the roster New Orleans has. I think that what made the reason why I was on board with the Jameis memes is largely because I don't think he has to play hero ball on that team either. He can be a game manager if he needs to, especially with that run game. They've been solid all season, and I'll be real with you. Those white jerseys with the gold numbers they just look so good. What can I say? I'm a little jealous.
Fair.
So don't forget, I did win the bet.
You did win the bet. Oh, whatever. So going up to looking forward to next week, we have one game there, but I have another one that we're going to pick as well. Game of the week for Ant is Packers versus Chiefs. Now, I kind of want to blow your mind right now because I'm looking at the odds for this game, and I don't know if either of you are prepared for what the line on this game is.
No.
It's a pick'em. It's even.
It's even?
Yes, with the over and under at 54.5.
Okay, I'm taking the Packers, and I'm taking the Packers, and I'm taking the over.
Yeah.
This will be a shootout. Now, I did say that last week, and Jameis got hurt, so I'm gonna knock on wood to make sure that my new MVP, Aaron Rodgers, don't get hurt. But this is going to be a shootout with the Packers going on top. I think none of them can play defense right now. This is going to be a beautiful one. I think Mahomes, he's going to throw for 400, 4 touchdowns. Rodgers is going to throw for a modest 303 touchdowns. So it's going to be good. Over Green Bay.
Yeah, I agree there.
Okay.
The Chiefs are still wobbling. They're like, it's like they say weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. But if you're wobbling all the time, that's still not good either. All right. Well,
I mean, I was just going to say, I think this is the Chiefs' rite of passage here, and this is where they right the ship, and the Chiefs come back after. Now, hear me out. This is the Chiefs because the Chiefs now have Melvin Ingram III from the trade deadline, and they also got, what's his name? Tight end Dan Brown from the Jets. So one thing they've been lacking there is more like short yardage situations for Pat Mahomes to not die in. So maybe this is a good swap for the Chiefs. We'll see. Probably not. But I'm picking the Chiefs, and I'm gonna pick the under. I think it's not gonna be the shootout that you think it is. So there's that. But moving down the line, I think the game that I'm most excited for is the Titans at the Rams at SoFi Stadium. So you get who I think is the best team in the NFL right now, and the Los Angeles Rams, versus a 6-2 Titans that just signed AP. I think this is going to be an eye-opening experience for a lot, and I think it's going to come down to a lot less than what the line is. They got LA -7.5, the over at 53.5. You ask me, I'm taking the Titans. This is a 3-point game.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Rams by 14.
Okay.
It's not gonna be close.
Yeah, no, Rams. Look, I'd feel dumb picking against them at this point. I'm so bad at making predictions as it is already, but they're so good.
I'm just picking the Titans to cover. I just say they were going to win, so don't think I'm just throwing this up in the air as a pick 'em.
Yeah, but I don't see. You got to understand. I got a problem. I don't see lines. Okay, I see who's gonna win, who's gonna lose.
I see.
All
lines.
right. If I'm gonna put my $2 bet, it's gonna be on the money line because I'm crazy like that. That's just how I roll.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Speaking of winners and losers, you know who's not going to win next week? Jameis Winston.
Oh my God,
Hey,
that's just rude. He's hurt,
that
man.
man is recovering from an
hurt.
unnecessary, improperly penalized injury. Okay, you let him rest.
You
He's
caught
not
a
going to
break.
throw any more
but him-
touchdown passes against the Panthers this year. Okay, you can.
You know who?
leave him
You
alone.
know who else ain't going to win? The Dolphins.
We don't. We went the whole show. We don't need to talk about him.
Yeah.
We don't.
Hey, how'd the Dolphins do?
They
I
on the
think
bye.
that the animal, the dolphin, is pretty cool.
They got-
I see. I do.
I got
saw a few
slaughtered
of
by
the Seahawks
Josh
ones.
Allen, who Josh Allen MVP probably favorite at this point. One of
No,
them.
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. All right.
That's
Okay.
man.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, with that being said, that brings us to the end of this week's show. What do they say? Fins up, JETS, Jets, and keep pounding. But hope everyone enjoyed the show. Thank you, as always, for watching live. If you're not watching live, you can tune in every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern over at twitch.tv/RD Sports. I forgot we're on Twitch because I'm on YouTube these days. I almost said YouTube. You can find all of our information in the description of the podcast. So make sure you check out all of us on Twitter and our respective sites. If you want to watch streams on Facebook, Ant's got you covered. If you want to watch streams on Twitch, Nate's got you covered. If you want to watch on YouTube, I got you covered. But as always, what?
Ooh, I didn't think about that. That's really dope. We got it all covered for
We
you.
got it all covered. So, but again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching.